to The Heart of Worship, Day 10 of the Purpose Driven Life Study Series. We're talking about surrendering to God, and that's the heart of worship. So, what does it mean to totally surrender to God? Well, you got to sacrifice your life. You got to suffer in order to change your ways, your behavior, your thought patterns, and die to your selfish ways and your selfish wants. Don't try to change your personality, though, because God doesn't want robots. Allow God to take over your life. Let Him lead you and guide you. Be obedient to God, and when He tells you to do something, say, "Yes, Lord," and do it. Don't argue. Don't ask questions. You may not understand why. It may not make sense. But you know what? Oh, well. God said do it, so do it. It's easy as that. God said do it, do it. Don't question why. Because at some point, it will make sense. Sometimes, at some point, you will know why. Allow God to control your situations. Allow Him to be in control. You quit trying to control everything. Let Him control every circumstance, everything you're going through, everything you're going to go through. Allow God to be in charge. Quit trying to be in charge. Quit trying to do it all, have it all. Make things happen that God doesn't want to happen. The most difficult part to surrender to God, or the most difficult thing for us to surrender to God, is our finances, our money. Quote, "Retirement is not the goal of a surrendered life because it competes with God for the primary attention of our lives." Unquote. You need to pray this. God, if it's in your best interest to remove this suffering, please do. But if it fulfills your purpose, that's what I want to. Surrender is hard work. It's actual intense warfare against our self-centered nature. So you're warring against yourself because you've got to give up that selfishness. But there are blessings to total surrender. You experience peace and freedom. And you experience God's power working in your life. If that's not enough, oh my gosh, then what is? But to experience that power, to see what God can do for you by just sitting back and saying, "God, I give this to you. Take care of it." And then God take care of it. It's awesome. I've walked it. I've walked that out several times. Not in every aspect of my life, because I'm still walking those things out. But there are certain things I've gone through that I've had to say, "God, I can't do this. You've got to do it." You know, and one of those things, I'm not going to go into detail here, but I'll tell you this much. If I hadn't have done that at one point in my life, I'd be dead. I would not be sitting here talking to you. And that's how awesome God's power is. I was on the verge of death. I could not breathe. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And I said, "God, help." And within seconds, my life was spared. My life was saved. I have an awesome testimony on that. Someday I'll share it with you guys, but not today. I just want you to understand that when you totally surrender your life to God, that's the kind of awesome power that you're going to experience. You know, and I always have to remind myself of that. Always. Which leads me to the next thing. When you totally surrender, you have victory and you have strength. Because surrender doesn't cause weakness. It causes you to become stronger. Nothing is more powerful than a surrendered life. The best way to live is surrender to God. Is to live a life that's surrendered to God. Eventually you give in to something or someone, opinions, expectations, money, your spouse, your pride, your ego. We were made to worship God, not those other idols. And that's what they become when you start giving in to them. We make those things idols and we start worshiping those. Because we're not letting God control those things. We're controlling those things. The best way to live, and it's actually the only way to live, is to completely give your life to God. Give Him your past and everything about it. Give Him the present and everything you're going through. Let Him be in charge. Let Him be in control. And give Him your future. Because only He knows what the future holds, not you. And if you give it to Him, it might be smooth sailing. You might have some few rough spots where you're tested, but you know what? God's in control, not you. Surrender is not a one-time thing. It's not a prayer. It's not words where you say, "Yes, Lord." It's a lifelong process. Remember I told you I had to remind myself every day of God's awesome power? It's a lifelong process surrendering to God. It's a moment-by-moment process. You have to continually surrender your life to God every moment, every second of every day. Remember, no matter what, you're always going to be tested. Your faith is always going to be tested. Especially as you begin to walk this walk of total surrender, will you be tested? Remember, it gives you strength, not weakness. Our point to ponder for this week is the heart of worship is surrender. Total surrender to God. Your verse for the week, the day, is Romans 6:13. And there's actually two questions. One of them I kind of picked out of the text. But the first question is, number one, what area of my life am I holding back from God? Your finances, your job. Think about it. Think long and hard and ask God to show you. The other one is, have you signed a contract with God, giving Him total control? Or are you still struggling and arguing with Him over areas in your life? You need to sign a contract with God that gives Him total surrender, total control over every aspect of your life, past, present, and future. Remember, it's a day-to-day, moment-by-moment, second-by-second process. Something you have to practice every second of every day. And if you forget or if you slide backwards, it's okay. Remember, you can always ask God for forgiveness. He's going to pick you up by your bootstraps and set you back on the path. But keep practicing second by second. Have a blessed week.